Book of Boba Fett, Episode 4 review. Let's rock it. Oh yeah, welcome to TRB Reviews. Thank you for joining us. I am the real Brian.
I am Captain Influence.
Dude, welcome back. We're gonna have some fun here. We review movies and TV shows here on this little playlist of episodes on the YouTube channel. You know, we talk about things we think are worth talking about. So, hey, if you've got something that you go, you know what I wish you guys would do is go back and review this movie from 1962. Let us know, man. I mean, maybe we'd do it, wouldn't you know?
Yeah, why not? We're not going to say we won't. I mean, well, no, I can't. Let me take that back. We're not going. We're going to be open to the possibility of reviewing whatever you guys want us to review. So
yeah, for the right amount of money. I mean, we are bounty hunters, but hey, thank you for joining us. Really, we're excited to be here. We've been going through Boba Fett. I'll tell you what, man. I've been hearing and reading. So this is after I go through an episode. We talked about this, I think, on the Real Brian Show Friday podcast episode when we were talking about how you don't like to get tainted by reviews, and I agree with you.
Right.
I will,
before I watch something.
Yeah, like I'll go in and just kind of get a pulse on what people are doing afterwards. I've been actually blown away how many people. Now I'm part of some various Facebook groups as well that talk to TV shows and movies and that kind of thing. And these are all, you know, some good nerds. They're huge Star Wars fans. But I'm absolutely shocked how many Star Wars fans are really not enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. Quite a few of them. They're just kind of like, eh, and nobody's saying like, oh my gosh, I hate the show. They're just kind of saying, it should be better. It could be better. It's not. And some of them have stopped watching it as a result. So that's too bad. I mean, it really is. Because for me, it's like, you know, I look at it as that it's Star Wars. I want to watch it. You know, hopefully it's great. It may not. Not everything's going to knock it out of the park, but we're going to hope for the best.
I have to thank J.J. Abrams and crew for putting the bar so low on episodes 7 and 8. Because of that, anything else they put out has a much better chance of being great for me. So,
yeah. And to me, episode 7 was just, I enjoyed it, but episode 8, there were good parts to it, and there were some really bad parts to it. That was the problem with episode 8. Episode 9, I think, redeemed a lot of it, but
more or less.
I don't know. I mean, and let's be honest. It's so hard for those of us, and I think this is true in anything. It's so hard for those of us who grew up with the original 4, 5, and 6 episodes. Nothing is going to compare. That's what we grew up with. But what if somebody grew up with episodes 1, 2, and 3? Then you know what I've heard with this? Because I actually knew people. They were kids or young or whatever when episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out. That's what they saw first. They thought episodes 4, 5, and 6 were old and lame, and you know, and they didn't like them as much. So I think there's a definite bias for any of us that whatever we experienced first and liked it, of course, we always compare it to that, and nothing compares. Period.
I get that phenomenon. There's no denying that phenomenon at all. However, I still maintain that they very, very much can make new Star Wars content that those of us old schoolers will think is out of the park. I know they can, because they've done it on a handful of times with various episodes of, say, Mandalorian or
Star Wars Rebels.
There you
Clone
go.
Wars.
So we know they can do it. It's not that we're just stuck in the
Jedi
past.
Fallen Order.
There you go. So it's not that none of the new Star Wars stuff can be as good as what we grew up with. That's not true. But I understand that phenomenon. Yeah.
No, and that's exactly the thing. I wanted to point that out because I do think that there's a lot of people that are saying, it's just not like the originals. Well, if that's what you grew up with, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's, but trying to step back a little bit and say, okay, can we enjoy it in 2022, knowing very well that we are biased towards the originals? Go from there. You know, one thing randomly going to say that I really have appreciated about The Mandalorian and also Book of Boba Fett, they're not relying on CGI like episodes 1, 2, and 3 did. They just overdid the CGI and it killed. I mean, in some ways it was really cool, but in other ways it was just like, this is so lame. So, you know, when you see the bantha and, you know, clearly it's a giant puppet or whatever, you know, animatronic thingy, you know, and the tongue looks very unrealistic and it's, you know, I mean, it was awesome. I was just like, thank you. We need to go back to kind of the old school because I hate to say it, but in some ways it looks more realistic than CGI does. If CGI is not done right, then
it
looks
even even the most modern CGI. You're right. Yeah, it's hard to make it look real, and they still haven't quite mastered that.
No.
But in Book of Boba Fett, especially this episode, they did a mix of CGI and puppeteering. You know, the Bantha was a puppet, but the mouth of the Sarlacc that came out and attacked Slave One was CGI. So,
and that looked good to me. From what I could,
it looked okay.
It wasn't looking like super close, and I wasn't watching it, you know, on my full on amazing, you know, 4K monitor, but it still looked okay to me.
Except for the fact that it was the same mouth that a lot of us had issues with in the re-release of Return of the Jedi. So
I know. Which
you know,
the whole thing that's the thing that didn't make any sense to me, is because the whole thing was the mouth. But then nope, let's change it and turn it into a squid mouth. Whatever. So what did you think of the episode overall?
So episode 4 overall, I really enjoyed this episode. In spite of a few weird scenes and seeming inconsistencies, which we'll get into, it was another good episode with a lot of flashback information, more story, you know, driving the story towards how he got to where he is in the present time, if you will, in the show. There's flashback and present time, what we'll call it. So I just thought it was a lot of good content with some inconsistencies, but a lot of good action as well. So what did you think?
You know, I thought it was a decent episode overall. I got to say though, and this is kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, is that I haven't been blown away by the series. And again, I'm not comparing it just to episodes 4, 5, and 6, the movies, that is. You know, like I mentioned, Jedi Fallen Order had a really, really good story. And especially when you get into some of those, you know, you've got some planets that you're kind of grinding and you're doing some random stuff, but then you get into some of those sequences where it's a really intense storyline. And I thought, man, they should have turned this into a TV show, this game. It was amazing. They really did a good job with that. Same kind of thing, you know, with some of the animated stuff, Rebels, Bad Batch, Clone Wars. There were some phenomenal stories that took place in all 3 of those shows. And so I feel like with this series, it's good, but let me rephrase that. I'm enjoying it. Is it really good? I think it is. I think it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm not wasting my life, but it's just, it feels kind of average. It feels average to good, or average to decent, I guess would be the better way to put it, compared to what we have had. And so, you know, is it amazing? To me, no. It's holding me. Like, I still want to watch and see what's going on. So I see it's a decent episode. There were some setbacks though, and some nitpicks that I'm going to have a little later on in the episode, because there were some things in there that I was like, ooh, what was that? But it's kind of like, you know, last week with the Power Ranger. Well, no, that was the Power Rangers and then the speeder chase was right. Those were major setbacks. These were a little more minor, which is good, but we'll get into that. So yeah, I just got to say this though. I love banthas. I mean, I mentioned the whole puppet thing. Bantha lips have always been so hilarious to me. I just like, there's these massive lips. I don't know what it is, but they make me laugh. And then now we get to see the bantha tongue and stuff like that. So I will say this though, that I really think banthas are cool. And I have a bantha out in Star Wars: The Old Republic. And did you ever play was it Galactic Battlegrounds? Is that what it was? Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. It was an RTS strategy, kind of Age of Empires style. Okay.
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, you know, if you were on various, usually Tatooine or whatever, you would have, you'd have those banthas running around, and you wanted to capture them because they would help your economy. And, you know, it was really fun. So I've always been a huge fan of a bantha. And let me tell you, riding around on a bantha as a mount in Star Wars: The Old Republic, it's awesome. It's huge. But I think it's cool. But
almost as cool as a Rancor mount. Right?
Oh yeah, not quite a Rancor, but man, the Rancors are the coolest. But what's really so funny is like I love how cool they are, but man, they're just so slow. And I'm thinking, okay, Boba, you're on a bantha. You could crawl faster than that thing could move. Like seriously, it's going to take you 5 days to get, you know, wow. They need to get that. Do you remember the Never Ending Story? They need that racing snail kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, or the rabbit, jackrabbit things in Dark Crystal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But keep this in mind: banthas are Tatooine's camels.
I know.
And so camels aren't very fast either. I mean, they can be, but they're not typically, I don't think, very fast. But they can go for a long time. True. And so I think that's the whole. It's the distance thing that he's going for.
Have we seen a bantha run before?
But I think they can.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can.
Yeah,
I'm spacing. Like, have we?
I don't know. Maybe in one of the movies. Anyway,
now I need to go look. Well, anyway, so I'm a huge Bantha fan. But anyway, so what are some of the positives you had?
So some of the biggest positives I had were number one, when he and Fennec recover Slave One, and he goes on that revenge spree. The first part of the revenge spree, especially when the bike gang is, by the way, it's the Kinton Striders, I think is the name that the Pikes gave to that bike gang. I didn't catch it in the last episode, but in the recap on this episode, they played that part again, and they said the Kintan Striders. So that's who his presumed enemy is, besides the Pikes. So when the Striders are, he gets Slave One from Jabba's palace, and the Striders are driving along, and suddenly, and just cool. out of the air, he comes down with Slave One and just starts wasting them. I thought that was cool, very that was very satisfying to me.
Now, but hold on though, because when Fennec is recovering and they're chatting around the fire, and he said, "Oh yeah, speeder bikers defeated the Tuskens," and she goes, "That's highly unlikely." Yeah, which goes back to what we were talking about last week, and I had said maybe the Pikes were the ones that made it. Like they killed the Tuskens, made it look like the gang did it.
Yeah, I appreciated that reference that she said she thought it was unlikely that the biker gang could defeat a tribe of Tuskens, and so
I think it's the Pikes.
That caught me.
Yeah, so then he goes and you get all excited that, oh yeah, he totally like murdered him, man. That was awesome. And then it's like, what if they weren't responsible though?
Right. Well, but they were still jerks. I mean, come on, they're a biker gang. No offense to any biker gang guys out there listening.
We're gonna have hits on us now.
But they're a Star Wars biker gang, and they're up to no good. I mean, we know they're up to no good because of what they did to the Tuskens in the first couple episodes. So
true.
So so it was still satisfying, but there is that inconsistency. Yeah.
Did you see did you see it coming where Fennec is a cyborg? She's modified, or like entire stomach is now all. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't know that. I'd never gotten a good look at Fennec's whole body to know that she had a fake arm and stomach. Off. Yeah, right. So it did come as a surprise. I did find it interesting that he what was she doing out in the middle of the Dune Sea? He heard a noise. He saw a flare. When
he sees the flare, did you notice that very quick and subtle Mandalorian soundtrack clip?
No.
Oh yeah, I was like, just for a split second, I'm like, hey, that's from the Mandalorian. He sees the flare, runs over.
I know which part you're talking about.
It's right after Fennec and Mandalorian had their big fight.
Oh, okay. That's really cool. Okay, very good. I'm glad I didn't catch that at all, but I appreciate that.
So now we're seeing the timeline kind of converge, which is really cool. Yes. And then I'm just going to throw this out now because this totally relates. But at the very, very end of the episode, when they're saying, oh, with enough credits, you can hire the right kind of muscle. And then it plays the Mandalorian music and you're kind of like, crossover time.
Okay.
Here comes the Mandalorian. At least that's my expectation. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We need more muscle. Oh, well, with the right muscle, we'll bring in, the Mandalorian. Great. Is that it? Because, I mean, the Mandalorian's awesome and he can kick some butt, but...
he's clearly getting started building what he called a book. And we learned in this episode why it's called the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. Because apparently a smuggler organization is called a book in the Star Wars universe. So it was the Book of Jabba the Hutt, I assume was Jabba's, retinue and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So now he's clearly setting his goal to establish his own book on Tatooine, or starting on Tatooine, and he offers Fennec a job, of course, after he fixes her up or has her fixed up at the cyborg little cyborg clinic.
Cyberpunk? Was that all cyberpunk, or was it me? I'm sitting here going, am I playing cyberpunk right now?
I had the exact same thought. Same exact thought. I was like, this is like a cyberpunk crossover. But I appreciated that.
It was very cyberpunk.
I liked that music, by the way. I just really liked that.
It's awesome music. It just didn't fit. It was the most bizarre, like, what am I watching? It was awesome, but I thought, okay, we went from Star Wars to Cyberpunk, which I loved that game, and then back to Star Wars. It was weird, but whatever.
So he offers Fennec a job. Yeah, a little bit. He offers Fennec a job, and so he's clearly building up his own group of not sub-interns or anything like that, but
Yeah.
his own group of friends or partners, essentially. And, you know, when he offers Fennec the job, she says, "I'm sorry, I'm kind of a solo act." And he says, "Well, but I would offer you my undying loyalty. I would give my life for you." And that interests her. Yeah.
Well,
and
that
so
interests me. Like, why you're a bounty hunter? Why would you do that?
Well, because this whole thing with Boba Fett and his presumable change in attitude and whatnot from what people assumed his attitude was in, you know, episodes 5 and 6. We never really get to know, not at all get to know who Boba Fett is. And so I think that the way his character's playing out in this series is very believable, because like you said before, everything we thought we knew about Boba Fett before was pure speculation.
Oh, of course it was.
Right?
Yeah.
And I personally, I think that how his character's developing, which in my opinion is a very intelligent approach to how he's picking up the pieces of his life.
Yeah.
And you know, feeling his way forward, you know, not feeling, but you know, he's bowling his way forward, but in a smart way. And he's not just kind of bashing his way through to primacy here or anything like that. I think that's all very believable, because we didn't know anything about him before anyway. So yeah, I think that I personally have no trouble with the way his character is developing.
Well, he made a few comments about how he was tired of working for people that would screw him over, essentially.
True.
You know,
we're more intelligent than they are. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
there's
right.
the empire issues, you know, there was a lot of stuff there. Right. And by the way, I'm assuming he was alluding to Bib Fortuna that stabbed him in the back, because he did say that fat pig or whatever that stabbed him in the back. And I thought, man, that must be Bib. So there was that. You think about, you know, he's obviously disgruntled, I think, with some of that stuff, but then, you know, being with the Tuskens, the Sand People, you know, gives him a sense of loyalty and family, and probably something he probably didn't have. I mean, he might have had it when they were on Camino when he was a kid. You know, he had the family, he had the clones and stuff, but then when his dad died and the clones got disbanded, he probably felt like he didn't have much of a family anymore. Right. So now he gets it with the Tuskens, and now he's starting to feel that loyalty, the tribalism, everybody needs a tribe kind of thing, which in essence, Fett's offering a chance for Fennec to be part of it, belong to a tribe. Yeah. And this theme persists in this episode, by the way. Like you mentioned, you can only survive so long without a tribe. Yeah. Yep.
And I was thinking, what's this tribalism message, Disney? I mean, they're really pushing that message in this episode for some reason. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, you look at this, you've got Fennec first, then you've got the Gamorreans, then you've got the biker gang, then you've got the Rancor. Now you've got
and the Rancor trainer.
Yeah, and the Rancor trainer. Now you've got Chrysanthemum, which, by the way, I was really, really glad that he hired Chrysanthemum.
I saw that coming.
Possibly now Mandalorian coming. No, I mean, yeah, I expected it too. I'm glad. So it's, you know, you think about it, and even based on the history that I know, he has pulled together a pretty formidable group of people that, I mean, honestly, if you're anybody, you want to mess with that? Seriously? The only thing missing is a Jedi. Or, well, I guess in that case, a Sith probably.
Right.
And in which case, you get a Sith, it's like, ugh.
Then that would be opposite the direction of where he's going, though, as a character. He would get a Jedi, but
true, he would get a Jedi over a Sith, wouldn't he?
But the only Jedi at that time is Luke and Leia, right? So
and
they don't have new Jedis yet. Oh, that's true. That's right. In Mandalorian, you had Ahsoka Tano. That's right.
See, and this is where things are getting a little gray area in the Star Wars universe, because they have allowed certain things to come into canon, like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So is Cal Kestis alive? Is he there? Is he a Jedi? We don't actually know. That's the thing. I mean, we were even talking about this on The Mandalorian when we were reviewing that, about how, you know, Baby Yoda, Grogu is one of the last. Is he one of the last Jedi? I mean, Luke's training. This is when at this point we noticed. Okay, so if you look at the timeline, Luke has started the academy, and he's training new Jedis, which is also when Ben Solo comes in. You know,
right.
So there's a possibility that there's a lot of Jedis out there, and there are definitely a lot of Force sensitives. We know that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess that's the thing. We're gonna have to see what they actually reveal, but I'm glad. And then. So I have to be honest that when Chrysanthemum ripped that Trandoshan's arm out of its socket, I was like, yes!
Episode 4, man, that was great.
That was awesome. But why?
Good reference. Yeah.
What did he have with the Trandoshans?
I don't know. They were winning a lot in.
He just pissed off at him.
In the casino, in the cantina.
Yeah.
And he was just glaring at him like, why are these guys having so much fun? I don't like them. I mean, we don't know the story behind that. He just decided he didn't like them.
Unless there's a side story where Trandoshans and Wookiees some issue. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there's a thing where Wookiees were enslaved by Trandoshan. I don't know.
Good point.
It could have been in a book, but
Right.
If you know, let us know. Tell us.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
If someone knows, let us know.
Okay, so a couple nitpicks, man.
Yeah.
Let me get into these. So the first one was a cyberpunk thing that was kind of bizarre. When that little probe drone thing that Fennec pulled out to go and go through Jabba's palace and stuff like that, that was actually pretty cool. But the music that was going on in that scene was so annoying, and it
didn't bother me.
Well, so there's a show that I have come to love over the years, and it's really more of a kids show, but it's called The Worst Witch, and it's like Harry Potter for kids. Okay. And it has kind of this very cheesy children's-like music that goes on, which is appropriate, and it fits with the nature of the show and the fact that it's for that audience.
Okay.
The music in this scene was almost identical to part of the soundtrack from The Worst Witch. And so as I'm watching this adult Star Wars live action show that's clearly not for kids, I mean, it kind of is, but it isn't, Not
really.
I'm listening to this music and going, this is like a kid's show, man. This feels so out of place and bizarre. Like
I didn't notice that.
This composer does, in my opinion, some really good stuff and then some just very strange and bizarre stuff. But here's the thing. Yeah. That's my personal take. Some people are going to love it. And I don't have any, when it comes to composers, music is very subjective. I have nothing against anyone that's out there composing because one, you're putting yourself out there. Two is it's hard to compose music. I'm a musician. I know this. Yeah. So nothing against the guy at all. It's just, it's a nitpick from me personally. It just felt really weird. The other thing that, now this one, to me, this one is more of a, okay, this is really disappointing. And I feel like they should have done a better job is, when Fennec is cutting the grate to go into Jabba's palace, and she's using that like magic tinsel or whatever the heck it is, which was awesome, by the way. The sound that it made cutting was like, yeah, that's the sound from a lightsaber. I don't like that. When they like, and it's like, or whatever. And I just went, if there's one thing that Star Wars did throughout the years was create unique sound effects for individual things. Everything was different. If you go back to the original movies, everything had its own unique sound. It was really amazing. They didn't copy and paste sounds. This was a complete copy paste from the lightsaber. Now, granted, I love sound effects. I recognize them. That really disappointed me. Well, I know. And like I said, not everybody's going to notice that. But to me, that was enough that it's like, dude, get creative and do something new. Do not copy paste something that is iconic. It's a lightsaber sound. It's an iconic thing. So I think it's lazy. That's me. And then the other nitpick was that whole kitchen scene with the droid fight was so bizarre and awkward and kind of lame to me. And then I was like,
with the knives that spun and stuff.
It's Chef Grievous.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking Grievous. Right.
I was just like, dude, I mean, okay. And everyone's like, oh, cool. That was an homage to General Grievous. And I thought that was weird. But the whole scene was just like, and then he like picks up this little tiny robot and slams it up against the wall. And he's like, do you know who I am? And he's like, I'm Boba Fett. And I'm like, are you threatening like a 2-foot tall robot? Like, are you kidding me? That was really weird to me. That whole scene was like, what just happened? I mean, and I went back and rewatched it and I went, did I seriously? And I watched it again and I was like, okay, I wasn't imagining it. That whole scene was weird.
See, the thing I got from that scene was I thought it was neat that they brought back that same droid that gave C-3PO crap in episode 6.
Okay.
The one that talks like this, who was in charge of the other droids or whatever.
Yeah.
He was in the kitchen. I thought it was cool they brought him back. And that's all I really noticed about that. I didn't have any trouble with that scene personally.
I just thought it was really weird that they're running. And by the way, when I read the reviews, nobody else seemed to have any trouble with it either. So apparently I'm alone in this one, but I just felt like it was like, okay, it takes 2 bounty hunters to take on droids. Like, and these are not assassin droids. Like, really? I don't know. It just, that whole scene felt, and everyone's like, oh, that was so funny and cute. And I just thought, okay, well, if that's what we're going for, then it felt really bizarre and out of place to me. But again, that's just me. I don't know.
So what did you think?
That's it.
Oh, so that if that's all your nitpicks, what did you think about the whole hovering over the Sarlacc pit scene?
Okay, first of all, I thought it was kind of cool looking, but I thought it was kind of dumb. Actually, it's not a nitpick to me as much as it was a really, like, that's kind of a lack of judgment. But he's like, oh, I can't see anything. Well, yeah, you're blocking the sunlight. By the way, the Sarlacc's probably still alive. Shouldn't you kill it first and then search the remains? I mean, well, shouldn't you have a floodlight? I mean, all those questions were kind of.
And he did have a floodlight.
Did you? Yeah, he had like a little flashlight. I'm like, did you think this one through? It was kind of weird to me, but it wasn't a nitpick as much as it was. Maybe it was showing his revenge was clouding his judgment, and even Fennec was kind of like, what are you doing? Like, are you sure this is a good idea?
No. You're missing a key element here. The reason he does this is not to get revenge on the Sarlacc. It was to find his armor in the Sarlacc.
I know that.
Now remember flashback just 3 episodes to episode 1 when he has his armor on in the Sarlacc and he escapes from the pit with his armor still on.
Yeah,
and then the Jawas steal his armor.
Yeah.
So,
but he was passed out.
Right. So that's the thing. He didn't know the Jawa stole his armor, but I would have thought he'd remember before he passed out that he had it on when he escaped the pit. Maybe he didn't. Obviously, he didn't.
And you know what? You're not the only one that has brought that one up. Again, like reading the reviews, a lot of people brought that up, and I thought, it is a really, really good point. I kind of saw it 2 ways. One is what you're talking about. Like, how did he not remember that? That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, and this was interesting that he mentioned in the episode, that was a few years ago. And I thought, okay, we just got
that
some
was
time
strange.
Passed.
Yeah.
So think about
how long was he in that Sarlacc?
Exactly. And she mentioned that Beskar protected you from the acid, but clearly not entirely. So, and we theorize that that's what was going on. That's where his scars come from. It's the acid that was from the Sarlacc in the stomach. But so there's a lot of question in there about, okay, how long was he alive in that Sarlacc pit? I'm sure he became delirious at one point, probably hallucinating, and then he finally breaks out, passes out. So I think there's 2 ways to look at it. Is that, how did you not remember the fact that you had the armor on? And does he remember anything because he was really out of it and probably, obviously clearly dehydrated, and the fact that he survived is a miracle, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that either that whole thing was a mistake in the writing, or there's something that we are missing, because he couldn't have survived any years at all in the pit because he didn't have any water or food. So
and that's not.
So I think he was only in the pit for a little while, because again, remember when he got out of it, the Jabba's land cruiser or whatever it was still smoldering. So that had not happened very long before he escaped from the pit. I think it was.
See, now I need to go back and look, because all I remember now is the wreckage around it when they were in this episode. And
right.
Now I need to go back and see if that was smoldering still, because then you're right, that wouldn't have been very long.
Yeah, I just think that either they wrote it wrong, and when they said it a few years ago, either that was a mistake in the writing, or there's something we are missing and don't know yet. So something about the timeline. What
we do know about the timeline is that The Mandalorian is 6 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. And if this episode, and it did, because he found Fennec. So they're now on the exact same timeline as The Mandalorian. So they are 6 years post Return of the Jedi. So when he says a few years ago, that was 6 years ago. How long was he in the Sarlacc pit? And how long was he with the Tuskens?
Yeah, I don't know. That I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that this wasn't a mistake, that he was just with the Tuskens a lot longer than they showed.
Likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was cool that he took out the Sarlacc. I thought that was good.
With what did they take him out with?
The sonic thing.
The sonic bomb. Yeah, there was another
cool.
nod to the prequels.
Yeah,
so.
I really loved those. There was a Auralnauts, by the way. I love those guys. They did the whole thing where like every time a Jedi's in a starfighter, it's like a dance party going on. You know, they fly by and you're just like boom, 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 boom. You know, and so they did such, and it's like bad lip reading kind of thing. They did such a great job. If you've not checked out the Auralnauts, it's amazing. Yeah. They did such a great job of that fight between, well, it would have been Jango Fett, but Boba as a kid, and then Obi-Wan. Yeah. And like every time he'd drop a sonic bomb, it was like a bass booster. It was so funny. They did an amazing job with that.
For those of you who don't know, it's Auralnauts, as in A-U-R-A-L, as in hearing.
N-A-U-T-S.
N-A-U-T-S. Yeah, check them out on YouTube. It's
totally worth
it. Funny Star Wars stuff. Yeah,
I'll link to them. They're so good. It's great. Yeah, so it was neat to see him in Slave One again. I mean, the whole ship is amazing to me. It's so unique. I would not want to fly it because it looks really uncomfortable, but it's just such a cool ship. But they did a fun job, and I still. So okay, Fennec mentions too. Then you need a back to tank. Because the armor saves you from the acid, but you still need a back to tank. And then he goes in there, and then of course now. Most of the episode's at flashback, but we finally get back to present day, and you are healed. Okay, cool. So we're thinking he should be at full strength now then?
And then maybe no more flashbacks either. So everything from now on, now that he's fully healed, he doesn't have any back to flashbacks anymore. So I'm presuming that everything from here on out is going to be current time period, so to speak. So
I guess so, unless they start doing further, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, well, that's cool. Well, like I said, though, there were some really, really cool parts to the show, to the episode that I really liked. There's just some things in there that I just go, it could be better, and I want it to be better. But what I'm really, really waiting for is when the heck is he going to ride his Rancor down the streets, and when the Rancor is going to rip somebody apart. I mean, come on.
He is. That's coming. They would not set that up and then just not do it. So that's coming in either next episode or how many episodes are in this season? Not 7. 6. No way.
7.
Okay.
Yeah, so we only have 3 more. So
crazy.
Move it. We'll see what happens. If you're a Star Wars fan, I do hope you're enjoying the episodes and all that. But when we get done with this, Mandalorian's going to be coming back out. But even then, keep in touch because we've got Star Trek Picard's coming. The Orville's coming back. That's another one that I would love to kind of get on. I'm excited about. It's been a long time for that. So we want to review stuff here. We may do. We're talking about doing just a kind of overall Cobra Kai season 4 review. Instead of doing episode by episode. So we're kind of, we're taking these and saying, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? But make sure, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything. Click that bell for notifications as well, though. But we've got a lot coming. We've got a lot of variety. I've got interviews coming up and already excited about those. So, there's so much here. This really is the channel for those of you who have a lot of interests, a lot of passions. You love the nerdy and geeky stuff. This is the place, man. This is the home for it. So thank you for joining us. And all those links we talked about are going to be down in the description below. But TRB Reviews is signing off.